Hello everybody, welcome to the table. I have a really nifty little knife on the table today, and before I say anything else, I will mention that this knife costs $7.99. So yes, less than $10. It's the perfect stocking stuffer type knife, and for this value, it's actually pretty cool. But first, just for a size comparison, let's put it next to a pack of chewing gum. I want you to know what size range we're working with here. So it measures about 3¼ inches closed, and it's thinner than a pack of gum. So as a result, this knife also weighs less than 1 ounce. And it's really curious because on first glance, this definitely is an item that does not even look like a knife. I mean, with the blade retracted looking like this, it's all very innocuous, very innocent looking. But this is the Rough Ryder Zipper Knife. So you can see the Rough Ryder logo prominent on the handle, and this is the lever that makes the so-called zipper action function. Very neat, unique design. Stuff like this is really just kind of a breath of fresh air after seeing piles and piles of frame locks and liner locks and lockbacks and the like. So I really like it for that reason alone. This is a manual OTF knife. So there's this lever here, it pops up and slides forward to bring the blade out of the handle. So once the blade is out, the lever just pops right back into the handle, into place, and now you have a small utility knife. So there are no springs here. It is just the action of sliding the lever back and forth that works the blade in and out. It's really simple, but a really smart design. So materials-wise, the front show side of this knife is this black and red G10, and the back side of the knife is a brushed steel. And the lever itself that moves around, the lever itself is made of aluminum. So what really makes all this work and even safe to use is that in the lever, there's a small magnet right here on the end. So very small, but what that does is it makes contact with the steel frame, so it keeps this lever locked in. So we can see how the zipper action itself, it's not going to flop around on accident. So I'm really impressed with how simple this is and how well it actually works. And of course, since the handle is so small, the blade is also going to be super tiny. The blade itself is 2 inches long, and you can see it is super thin, pointy, and pokey. So the main use cases here, I would imagine, to open letters, open packages, fairly light duty tasks. But since this blade is so thin, you could easily use it for, removing splinters, cleaning your fingernails, or any task that would require a super pointy tip. On the blade itself, we can see a very small Rough Ryder logo markings on one side, as well as the model number and the Made in China marking on the reverse side. So there's not a lot of real estate on this blade. And the blade steel that we're working with here is 440A. And for the price of the knife, I think that's entirely appropriate. And being an OTF knife, out the front knife, we can check for some blade play, and there is going to be a fair amount, since I can tell the tolerances here are not exactly, Microtech quality. But what is neat is that if you grip the knife and hold the lever tight against the frame, easily about 90% of that blade play just goes away, if that bothers you. So what are the downsides of this little knife? Since the design of this knife is so simple, there are no extra functions here, or extra features. I mean, there's no pocket clip, obviously. There's no way to carry this on a lanyard. So we seem to be kind of destined for pocket carry. And, maybe with a leather slip, if you want to get really fancy with it. Or this could just be a knife. You leave it out on your desk carry. I don't know if that's a thing. But I mean, nobody walking by and seeing this on an office desk is going to really even give it a second glance. I mean, if anything, they might think it's a USB drive, a lighter, maybe some other kind of smoking implement, but a knife, nah, not as likely. I picked up this knife from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. It was kind of an afterthought because I was already making a purchase and figured, hey, for a few more bucks, I may as well throw in some, cheapy Rough Ryder knives. And that's really the best way to buy this knife, because otherwise your shipping cost is likely going to be more expensive than the knife itself. But to be honest with you, I'm glad I got this one, as Rough Ryder, as a brand, they almost never fail to impress with what they can offer, for such a low price. And when you see Rough Ryder as a brand, you want to immediately dismiss them based on price alone. But in my experience and based on what I've heard from the community as well overall, they're a great option if you just need a solid, usable, working knife without any frills or super steels, just a user. And I'm holding this knife totally wishing that some company, Rough Ryder or not, would upsize this design, make the tolerances maybe a little bit tighter, make it a bit more robust, and release it, add a pocket clip in there somewhere. And there is so much promise to a knife design like this. One of my viewers pointed out in an earlier video that OTF knives just end up being flat out safer than most folders, since there is no physical way that the blade can fold over onto your fingers on accident. So if this knife ever fails, the blade just goes back in the handle, super safe. It was just something that I had never thought of before, and it makes so much sense. The box this knife came in, very small, very simple, would make a great little stocking stuffer item. Most of the packaging I've seen Rough Riders knives used recently is pretty nice. It's colorful, it's high quality cardboard, it's not going to fall apart if you collect these kind of things. And before we're done though, let's make some quick comparisons with some other knives. Some of these are going to be silly, I admit, and some for size reference as well. So first, I do want to bring out the Microtech UTX 70. And now this is the California legal version of the knife. So in overall size, it's actually pretty similar to the zipper knife. So the handle size, the blade size, even the weight itself is fairly comparable. But of course, the thing I find humorous here is that you can buy over 30 zipper knives for the price of the one UTX 70. I mean, I can literally bury the UTX 70 in zipper knives for the same price. And that's about as far as the comparison can go, because as you can tell, there's a world of difference between these two products. But why not compare them if I can, just for fun? And for size reference, let me bring out two other knives. So one will be my standby. So this right here is the Kershaw Blur. And so next to the zipper knife, we can see a full-size everyday carry option. And so now imagine, of course, if they made a zipper knife in this size, I think that would be totally awesome. But going back to the realm of silly, let's bring out the Cold Steel Spartan. So what is funny here is not only going to be the size difference, but it's that the Spartan weighs almost as much as 10 of these zipper knives. So the extremes in this hobby can make for some strange bedfellows here. And I meant this to be a very short video, but in the end, I kind of just can't stop shutting up about this knife. And for one more funny thing, I think I like this knife more than the actual knife I intended to buy from Smoky Mountain Knife Works that day. And so I probably won't even make a video on this one. So am I crazy or what? This was a surprise. So kind of a sleeper knife, if you can call it that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I always love to hear from the community and hear your thoughts. But I hope you all have a nice day, everybody, and bye-bye.